Welcome to The Advocate, a program that thrashes out all the topical issues of the day.
When you are in government, you don't see nothing wrong with whatever is happening. The moment you are out there, everything is wrong.
You can't even see many women now, and when they're there, they're not even really making a mark, and then they have an NYSC problem and this and that.
One of the reasons why we don't have more women in politics in Nigeria is for as long as political meetings continue to take place in the middle of the night.
Exactly.
It's disastrous for a president
to even say
to be
he's
unaware of the chief
It's
justice.
a ploy. It could be a strategy.
That strategy was very terrible strategy. Because the buck stops at your table.
Whether it's that we don't look after our cities, and quite frankly, Nigeria is becoming a very ugly place.
When you are the only one feeding the people with this news, and there is nobody countering them, it becomes, the news.
Welcome to The Advocate. Without using the R word, permit me to say that today's edition promises to be hard-hitting and transformational. From books to social media, I ask, isn't it time we evolved into a more literate people, both in reading and generating the literature of the people? Ireti is not amused by our comedians and asks that we keep a straight face at crooked jokes. Uche is wondering if our culture of apathy isn't first taught at home and at schools. Saidu is challenging our colorization of crime and asserting that crime knows no tribe. Ekene is stating unequivocally that our culture of lateness is due to arrogance. Now, is that direct enough for you? Stay tuned. Who says evolving trends aren't a sign of the times? The 1980s in Ikoyi at Federal Secretariat. Those who remember, books and magazines were sold outside the buildings while federal civil servants worked inside, before Abuja. My regular customer, which is Nigerian for who I buy a lot from, handed me a book to buy, written by General Danjuma. I declined, saying to him that all I need to know about Nigeria would not be written by those who perhaps play with her, plunder her, and reduce her to a slumbering giant. Another man, as if a paid agent, protested my statement and wanted to turn the matter into what it was not, so I avoided the dimwit. It's so many decades now. The giant is in a coma. Many plunderers have written so many books. Many former journalists turned government messengers have also written pathetic books. And so it goes. Books, books, books. Books and other literature are effective means of disseminating information to the learned, a very small proportion of our people. Remember the 1979 song, Video Killed the Radio Star by the Buggles? The world preferred to see or hear than read, because most of us cannot read or be bothered to read. But one more murder has taken place. Social media has killed the video star. Social media is an intoxicating mix of see, hear, and read, and the government fears it. Social media was the making of Sahara reporters, of massive criticism of government and those in high places, a means of advertising events, including demonstrations. Remember the violent riots under David Cameron in the UK, all arranged on WhatsApp. Arguably, social media played a great hand in pulling down Goodluck Jonathan, and it is a thorn in Buhari's flesh. No wonder he tries to clamp down on it. So, Sowore used the word revolution, preferably for me defined as activity or movement designed to effect fundamental changes in the socio-economic situation. He says we should bundle the president out of Aso Rock. That's a wish. There's practically no one to whom he can give such an instruction. I too would like to ask the president to leave. So I suspect Sowore will not go down for treason. It is time to scrutinize commentary on our lives, make them more reasoned and true and closer to some objectivity. It is time to end sycophancy and greed, false propaganda written in books and launched by millionaire government sympathizers. Time to educate our people to read, and more importantly, that we produce what they can absorb in a format they can handle. So as video killed the radio star and social media killed the video star, the murders will continue. Then the message will reach more varied demographics.
Interesting. I seem to be following you till the end, the latter part. So
Okay.
I just want you to clarify for me. When you say it's
Okay.
time to scrutinize the commentary on our lives, what do you mean by that?
I think in the light of all that's happened recently with everybody arguing about the word revolution and the meaning, and somebody wants to turn the country into anarchy and all that, I think that, yes, to some extent, we should try to be more reasoned in how we put forward the message.
Okay.
But at the same time, the message is clear. I mean, I don't see how,
So we should be careful to use words like revolution then.
Yeah, I think so, yes, and any other such word. But I also think that we're getting to a stage in this country where we're just looking for fights and disagreements and things like that. And when that happens, it means we are spiraling out of control.
So, I mean, I just want
That I say the word revolution does not necessarily mean that I am using it perhaps correctly even.
Okay.
It may just mean to me that I want the system
overhauled.
shaken, overhauled, whatever. It doesn't mean I want to kill anybody.
Yeah, because I learned something from our discussion on hate speech, and
right.
I was trying to say, caution, be careful.
Yes.
But I realized actually after that discussion, I went back and reflected and realized actually what's more at stake are civil liberties. So I would tend to err on let people speak their mind, because you are the one who can be magnanimous, you who have the power. So it's almost
Correct.
like me as a
Yes.
mother,
Yes.
if, even if my children are doing the wrong thing, I can give them enough wiggle room. I can't
Correct.
clamp them, because what's more important is to get at the heart of their discontent. That's where
Yes.
I'm at now.
Yes.
So for once, I actually find myself very happy that there's such a thing as social media, because I think it now has presented us with a forum that cannot be controlled.
Yes.
And, and I'm so glad in this day and age that social media exists, because there's no one who can clamp down on that forum for expressing themselves. And I'm very happy about that.
Yeah, I mean, I think most people know my stance. I'm always for freedom of speech, freedom of expression. So I really, I don't have an argument with that. I know you pointed out that you wanted people to read more. I'm not necessarily sure reading is really where the problem lies. I think maybe people need to develop critical thinking, maybe be able to analyze information, because a lot of the time there's a lot of information out there, but it's also disinformation. Do you understand? So if people are, even if they're reading, doesn't necessarily mean that they're taking in the truth,
engaging with it,
or that they actually understand even what they're reading. So I think what we all need now is to develop critical thinking, learn how to analyze things.
What? How do you develop?
Exactly. I was just
Well,
going to say
again,
that.
I guess it will go back to my topic when I do, do my topic, because I think a lot of this starts from the schools. Because, for instance, people that study abroad, when they teach you comprehension in a different way to people who learn comprehension in Nigerian schools. So, like, those in Nigerian schools are usually often taught to cram, taught to regurgitate information, not necessarily to analyze it and think. So I know that when I moved over to the UK to study, that was something that I had to adjust. I had to adjust the way I go about things. I had to start analyzing things, answering things from that perspective rather than just regurgitating whatever. So I just feel like information is everywhere, good, bad, information, disinformation, you name it. So it's about you then going further and doing your research to get at the truth. So
No, I think what I meant by reading is that it's not just so you read. Of course, you read, you reason, you criticize, whatever. What I'm basically saying is that a lot of information comes written. It's either you're writing or you're speaking to me, and we're not going to get rid of writing soon from what I see. So we have to learn to read so that we can read the ones that are readable, hear the ones that are hearable. Then you can start your research and your reasoning capacities and things, developing those. Those come from the education sector as well, So what I'm saying is that we need to get people to read, because it looks like writing in words is going nowhere. It's not going away soon.
I agree with you. Documenting things like that, for them, in a way, I think it's a way to preserve their own version of the story. And if you don't resist that, you'd find that you're just, bombarded with one side of the story that may not necessarily be true. However, on, social media, it's a very powerful medium. At the same time, you'd expect that people would be very, very careful. That's where I disagree with you. That you can't use words like revolution carelessly, because people interpret that word differently. And since you're talking to the world, you understand, you can start revolutions. Wars have been started from words. So you can't carelessly use words that would incite people, because you have the power to use that word. And for everything you do, there are consequences. As much as you have that freedom, if your words would impede on the security, the safety of the nation, there'll be consequences. So you have to be careful with the words you use in the space.
Does it not matter that the people who are judging you for using those words have used similar words or worse?
Absolutely, yes. Well, unfortunately, you don't have the monopoly of that. People could have used, because I've heard people say that, such and such person used the same words. And I checked. It was used in a different, he defined it, revolution of the mind. You understand? That's a different revolution. But when you're saying mobilize, move the person out of government.
I'm even referring to other more radical statements like, if I don't win the elections, then,
everything's
the
cut
place, the country,
But
exactly.
that's just a general statement.
Oh, it's a general statement then.
If you say, the space is an open space. I could say anything. I could tell you I don't like you. You're allowed to express yourself whichever way you want, right? But when you use words like revolution, it's don't forget that you understand, the message you're trying to pass on. The people, for instance, if we go back to the discussion at hand, there are aggrieved parties all over the place that would want to hinge on that movement to pass their own, use it as a medium. Do you understand? So we have to be careful how we use words, in my opinion.
No, I have nothing to say.
Okay.
All right.
Interesting.
Okay.
Are we part of the movement of the citizen as historian? Well, Ireti urges us to join another movement after the break.
Welcome to The Advocate, a program that thrashes out all the topical issues of the day.
When you are in government, you don't see nothing wrong with whatever is happening. The moment you are out there, everything is wrong.
You can't even see many women now, and when they're there, they're not even really making a mark, and then they have an NYSC problem and this and that.
One of the reasons why we don't have more women in politics in Nigeria is for as long as political meetings continue to take place in the middle of the night.
Exactly.
Really disastrous for a president
to even say
be unaware of the chief
It's
justice.
a ploy. It could be a strategy.
That strategy was
Backfired.
terrible strategy. Because the buck stops at your table.
Whether it's that we don't look after our cities, and quite frankly, Nigeria is becoming a very ugly place.
When you are the only one feeding the people with this news, and there is nobody countering them, it becomes, the news.
My topic is titled, Why We Need to Stop Laughing with Nigerian Comedians. I attended a show in Lagos recently, and what should have been a pleasant evening turned into what I can only describe as a torrent of horrendous, humorless, misogynistic attempts at comedy. It has become de rigueur for Nigerian comedians, with the exception of Alibaba, to bounce from one misogynistic diatribe to another without regard for their audience. Their attempts at entertainment would be better suited to entertain sewer rats, where the gutter humor would find a home. When the women bashing jokes were over at this event, the next target was the disabled. This was the first time I heard the limb deformity, genovarum, commonly called bow legs, wickedly referred to as bracket by comedian Sheyi Law. Why, I wondered. Laughter is said to be the best medicine. Medicines are for healing. Therefore, a talented, polished comedian could lift up the spirit of a muted society by momentarily distracting us from the myriad of issues blighting our daily lives. So if these comedians have real talent or have a modicum of intellect, wisdom, and decency, they wouldn't need to morph into playground bullies at the expense of vulnerable members of our society. Every time we laugh at their offensive jokes, we become unwitting accomplice to their violence. For as long as we continue to smile our way through their performances or whisper our displeasure in hushed tones to our neighbor, they will never change. For as long as brands and corporate marketing executives continue to sponsor book or endorse their humor with rewards such as brand ambassador. We invite them as MCs at corporate events, our weddings or functions. Their assaults will be bolder and more harmful, sinking us further into an abyss we may never recover from. But then again, this is Nigeria. Assertive women are a problem, the land of mediocrity, self-aggrandizement, and delusionals. This is the country where rapists and executors of rape jokes are given endorsements and lauded as legends of their industry. This is why we must stop laughing with such comedians and find the courage to protest our displeasure by staging a collective walkout at the next show where such venomous narratives are uttered in the name of comedy. Frankly, I ain't smiling with you no more.
Yes,
It's not a laughing matter.
I like that. It's not a laughing matter.
Yeah, no, you're right. I mean, I enjoy some jokes, and maybe there's some that I enjoyed maybe because I'm actually already against the people they are using as jokes.
Such as?
Like pastors.
Okay.
I enjoy all the jokes about pastors and people like that, but it must be because I have a hidden agenda against them. That's what it is.
Politicians' jokes.
You know, we all enjoy politician jokes, you know. But truly, they do sometimes go into territory where you're laughing, but you see, the thing is, you can make fun of life, and you can laugh about it without realizing how much damage is being done to those who are in that life, those who don't see the joke in that life. And I mean, it's not as if I have statistics as to how it has damaged society, how the comedians are damaging society. I'm not 100% sure if there are those statistics, but perhaps if they try to work them out, they will find there's a problem. In any case, I find the current generation a little bit too, they are too, is it insulting?
Okay.
They easily do what the comedians are doing.
Let me just clarify something.
Are they the sign of the times?
Well, let me just clarify something, because of course our script is very limited, so we're not able to write as much. So somebody had finished playing. I mean, there were jokes about a certain personality who actually came much later. They were joking about the fact that she bleached for a man and everything. We're all in shock. It went downhill where then there were other jokes where this other guy was demeaning women. That's the second comedian. And then another comedian said, you know, there had been a guy who played on stage. He was an acoustics guitarist, and he was playing with Johnny Drill. And after they finished, they went back. You know, when they finished, they go backstage. And then this Sheila calls him back and said, oh, God, come back. And said something, a bracket. I said, sorry, what is a bracket? And that's when I said, oh, that's the rude word for bow legs. I was disturbed.
So the guy had
what
bow
I'm
legs.
trying to say is, and then the next day, funny enough, Omojua did a post. He had just experienced the same type of thing. I haven't posted mine on social media. He posted it somewhere else. And he just experienced something similar about a comedian laughing about Down syndrome children. Okay. And he said, you don't know how many children, how many parents in there have Down syndrome. So my point is, there are lines. There are boundaries. Everything can be funny, but not everything should be made fun of.
Yeah, I mean, I like what you said about, you know, a gifted comedian should be able to lift people's spirits and turn their attention from away. So actually, that's a good standard to look to, because a lot of times, I remember when, you know, let's say, go away from Nigeria. I remember in the UK, you know, much earlier, they used to have spastic jokes.
Yes,
and we thought it was funny until we realized who a spastic was. You know, we didn't understand. It was then we realized, and we thought, oh, this isn't fair, you know, really. You know, so it's like, it's an immature form of comedy when you don't have enough intelligence to find ways to use your comedy to heal, because laughter is meant to heal. So, you know, it's not to say you can't do it, but you haven't discovered how to do it because you're too busy doing the cheap jokes, you know. So I am used to going to parties where they do Igbo man jokes, even when it's an Igbo man that is the celebrant. And they'll say, oh, Igbo man, if you go somewhere and the Igbo man is not there, market is not, you know, run away. Everybody will be like, I'm like, it's dry, it's boring. Yeah, it can be, but it can be fun. Yeah, that's the thing. But you need to gauge it. That's the point. And we're not trying to dumb down humor. We know that.
But they're not putting Igbo men down, actually. That's the thing. because we don't know the Igbos are known for trading.
I know,
they're known for
but there's
being
a
good
line,
traders.
sometimes they push it. So I'm trying to say that you need to be careful because sometimes they think they can crack jokes about women, about black people. It's easier if you're a black person or an Igbo man or whoever it is, and you're laughing at yourself. Then you
But
say nigga. But
but
disability, rape jokes.
The lines you don't want to cross. But comedians are
rape jokes are out.
I think they seem to have like a get out of jail card.
Okay.
But you'd find that most of the jokes they put out there are jokes that reflect us at that particular point in time. Unfortunately, they are self-censoring because they can say anything anywhere.
And say they were just joking.
It's just a joke.
But that's the point. Should they be allowed to?
There must be that line. I mean, joking about autistic children. It's
bow legs
or bow legs and things like that. But I mean, you see comedians do those funny jokes and imitate also. We've grown to see them do this. And I think discussions like this were probably called because they listen, they research, and they basically feed us what we want to hear from them.
They don't listen, no. Go on, Uche. Well, they don't listen, no. They don't listen.
I don't know. I think we're, again, heading into dangerous territory, trying to censor comedians. I don't think we should censor comedians. I think we're all at different levels in society. We seek certain things. Like when I'm watching some shows, it's not every kind of show that makes me laugh, any kind of funny show that makes me laugh. I always say to people, a comedic show that is like slapstick, Benny Hill, all that, I hate it. I don't have time for it. And so it doesn't appeal to me. So I wouldn't go to a place where they are, portraying or putting out such base jokes, because that's not going to appeal to my consciousness. But I don't think that it should be removed or it should be censored, because there are people in society that...
No, but Uche, the problem is, what you're missing out is that in Nigeria, you have a lot of people you have a society that still hasn't appreciated how to look at women. They still haven't appreciated how to look at disabled people.
Disabled.
So they're still growing in that understanding. And so if you now allow them to keep, and it actually reflects in the way they behave. It's not like you laugh at it and it doesn't affect. You still find that people do show a lack of consideration or kindness even towards women. So maybe when we're a bit more mature and you say, okay, you're trying to make...
But if you enlighten them, just like you said,